Nestled in the beautiful pine forests above the north shore of Lake Tahoe is the St. Francis of Assisi Catholic community. A vibrant parish of families and visitors, the church echoes the splendor of the Alpine mountains outside through elements of wood and stone inside. Expansive windows let the beauty of nature flood the nave, allowing all to enjoy God's creation.
Right out the windows of Mass, you can see the lake, and every day it's so different, it's so beautiful.
The majesty of it, God's creation, looking out the window.
I remember Father Mike's homilies sometimes were just sit for a little while and look out and enjoy what God has given us.
And I love when we have a visiting priest that comes and they look and they say, I don't know how I can give a sermon and compete with that.
Yeah.
I always like that.
So
but they do a good job.
Really great.
And it just really helps me grow closer to God to see all the beautiful things that He's created.
St. Francis is a thriving community, full of life, fellowship, outreach, and Christ present in the Eucharist. The nave features curved wooden pews, a beechwood ceiling, and stone flooring. Stunning images of saints, Mother Mary, and Christ the King adorn numerous areas of the church. The beautiful stained glass windows along the west wall feature Mary as the Mother of Perpetual Help, St. Anthony, St. Andrew, and St. Martin de Porres. St. Michael the Archangel stands guard at the back of the church, joined by St. Patrick, dressed in green, with St. Dominic near the confessional. Overlooking the baptistry is the Virgin Mary as the Immaculate Conception and St. Christopher as it carries the baby Jesus. Christ's foster father, St. Joseph, stands near the east side stairway. Upon entering the stairway, one encounters the risen Jesus above. This image adorned the old sanctuary prior to the renovation in the late 2000s. To the right, we find the Sacred Heart of Jesus and St. Francis of Assisi looking out over the courtyard below. Back inside the nave, the east wall features St. Jude, St. Teresa of the Child Jesus, St. Gerard, and Christ the King watching over the choir at the front.
My favorite part about these stained glass windows is the colors that they use, how vibrant they are, and then just how they're number one donated by families, and how many saints that people have been able to choose to donate onto the stained glass, and that's kind of cool to me.
Our church was vandalized. One Easter morning, there was spray paint all over, and then 3 weeks later, they had broken the church doors and had broken, we thought the stained glass was broken, but luckily because they were historical windows and encased in glass on the outside and on the inside, just the outer glass had broken, and there was a little chip in one of the windows, and the glazier that we worked with had said, I will be very careful, but these are very old windows, and really an artisan should be fixing it, and he was able to. So it had to come out so the protective glass could be replaced.
I remember that.
Founded in 1965, Mass was first held in various locations, including casinos and the garage of a nearby house.
The priest was Father Cohan, and he lived in the little house 2 doors from here, the little white split-level house. Mass was actually in the garage, and maybe the 5 o'clock Mass was there then, and the 9 o'clock was at the Crystal Bay Club, and the 11 was at the Hyatt, which could have been, at the time, King's Castle. All of that was a large stretch of your faith to
So you had to go to all
go,
these different
you had
masses.
to go to
There was
all
no
these different
unity.
places. And of course, having Mass in a casino is a bit of an issue, yes, because just about the time you'd be trying to compose yourself and find your spirituality, a slot machine would
Go off.
and it was, I have to say, it was trying.
So they were at the Hyatt, and when there'd be, the ushers counting the collection, there would be poker chips in there that people would give.
Prior to the latest renovations, the church had quite a different appearance.
The church was very dark before because it had all dark siding. So we tried to add light wherever we could, and so we added those surrounds around the stained glass window, the clear glass surrounds, and it really lets a lot more light in, so that's really nice. Also went with the lighter colored ceiling, light walls, and the vertical grain fir. You can see how it turns a honey color with age, which is beautiful, but it doesn't get really dark. The beach was supposed to be the same wood, but to save money and because we like the light, we went with the beech instead of the vertical grain fir.
And so when I first started coming to church here, Father Mike was here, and the church was very dark. And then I remember when it was being remodeled, we were worshiping at the high school, which I always thought was interesting. That's like, I'm going to church and high school. And then we took a brief stint due to Bob's service. We lived in Germany for several years, and the church was completed while we were gone. So to come back to this beautiful church that has the view that is amazing. There is a path of pebbles that goes from the baptismal font to the altar. And I love the significance of, we're brought in through our baptism to Christ, and that continues through the rest of the sacraments.
So I was in the orthodontist's office for my kids, one in Truckee, and I had my religious experience there when I was looking down, and on the floor, the orthodontist himself had done this, I found out. It was stone, and then there was a cut path with the stones looking different to be a river, and then there were like embossed fish in it. And I thought, wow, that's beautiful. And so I had mentioned it here, and we did our own interpretation, not so wide, in the little pebbles, but we came in once while it was being built, and the floor was plywood, and they were starting the stonework, and you can still see this at the baptistry if you look while the water comes, which are the stones, they start coming out wide, and then all of a sudden it gets very narrow. It's because we hadn't specified exactly what it should look like, and the architect had drawn what I call a subdivision sidewalk, very even, wide, and not so interesting. And we happened to have an artist on site to talk about the corpus and the Mary statues and what we were going to do with that. And so we just stopped the guy laying the pebbles and asked the artist in our meeting, said, please direct him what to do. We don't know. So he took the hose that they were using, to get the cement or grout, whatever, wet, and he took the hose and just put it down there. It's not very spiritual or romantic or anything, but I loved that it was teamwork. It was using the resources at hand. The hose this person meant for something else, and I think it just turned out beautifully. And I even took a picture of the hose. I remember thinking, that's the difference between an artist and me, is that he can put the hose down the center aisle and it looks beautiful.
The statue of St. Francis of Assisi with the wolf, Peter Larson, who is now in the seminary, that was his Eagle project. And so I worked very closely with Peter. He ordered the statue from Italy.
Oh, wow,
And
that's
so-
beautiful.
He and I would talk about where it was going to go, and then he had to devise how it was going to be put into cement. And it was wonderful to be involved in that, and now to look at Peter being in the seminary.
I was going to say that would be wonderful.
That's a statue in Gubbio on the way of St. Francis into Rome.
Oh, wow.
The original is in Gubbio.
The other Eagle Scout, Brian Wiebe, donated all the benches around the gathering area.
Yes.
Yeah, he did all of those.
Yes.
So it's nice that our youth took part in all of that stuff.
As one of the premier alpine lakes in the world, Lake Tahoe attracts millions of visitors a year. Some come just to enjoy the beauty, some for sports and recreation, and others to court Lady Luck. Families make Lake Tahoe an annual destination, creating new memories every year. But others find that visits are not enough. They decide to make Tahoe their home.
I came in 77, and basically I came up. We used to come to South Shore for our anniversaries. So we came to South Shore one year, and Sam says, I want to go visit a friend of mine who's up on the North Shore. I said, okay. So we came up, and Sam took a look at this place and says, that's it, I'm moving, we're moving. And I said, oh, we're gonna move, are you kidding? I said, you've got the restaurant down here, you're gonna move? Yep, we're moving, and we did, and opened the restaurant here. And yeah, my kids were born here, 80 and 82, and
So you raised your kids here.
yeah.
And your one daughter is raising her family here. So there's been three generations of you here at our church.
At our church, yeah.
Did your daughters get married here?
Yeah.
We had a place rented way up on the top of Tyner. We would spend the days, wouldn't you know, down to the Hyatt Beach, and it was like 85 and 90, and we just fell in love with the place. And of course, went to Mass that weekend at St. Francis, and that just absolutely captured it for my wife and I and our family. And we decided that after that visit to St. Francis and that pleasant visit, the weekend with with family on the Hyatt Beach, that we just had to have a place here.
What's unique about Incline Village is just the natural beauty. Came up here for a wedding in 2018, and I went skiing over at Diamond Peak, got off of Crystal Express, and for the first time since being a child, had the sort of panoramic view of the lake. I fell to my knees right there at the top of Crystal Express and said to God, like, this is the most beautiful thing as an adult that I can remember seeing. And then immediately the follow-up thought was, some people get to see this 365 days a year, why can't you?
I was a Navy guy and retired into San Diego. And like you, we said, this is the place. We were probably about a year ahead of you, Dewey, because I remember masses over in the auditorium in the high school, which were, somewhat challenging. Of course, I'd been near the ocean for my entire life, and this was a second choice, to be near a big body of water.
One of the appeals to us is people don't have to live here. Very few people move to Incline for their jobs. People are here because they want to be here.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that makes our town so special.
It is special. St. Francis is unique because of the location that we are in, but it does cause problems for many visitors or even our locals, the snow, the weather. So you have to really like to live here and really like the snow. And some of our priests that come for either to be our pastors or to take somebody's place when the pastors are gone, it's difficult for them. They're not used to it. They're not used to it.
Well, I remember Father O'Donnell drove a Porsche,
Oh, geez.
And I used to think that that doesn't work up here at all.
We have a seasonal community.
So a lot of faces that we'll see here at Mass are faces that you only see during the summer.
They really support and are part of the parish when they're here, and then when they're gone, some of them are still active, virtually.
When the old faces return, there's sort of this welcoming back into this community. And then when it's time for them to leave again, there's a sending off, a ritual built into sort of the heartbeat of the parish.
I have to say that thank God for the women of this parish.
Oh, absolutely.
It is true. Women are the backbone of parishes. When we find that there is a need, we try and address it.
There's a very real sense of, the Holy Spirit is moving here. The Holy Spirit is transforming this parish. There's a vibrancy and a vitality.
Probably the best community of all those different parishes throughout the United States.
I also like how many kids there are at daily mass now, especially coming from the school. Like the other day, a bunch of little kids came from the elementary, and some of the primary students came with them. And it was so cute seeing all the little kids there at mass. It's just like so nice to see little children wanting to know more about their faith.
I love it up here. And people say now that my husband's gone, what made you stay up here? I said, where else would I go?
Where would you go?
Where do I want to go that's better than this place?
I'm here to stay with the